And we are indeed live. Everyone can hear you now.
Oh, I'm going to mute myself.
What's up, chat? We're actually sorry we're a little bit late. We're a little late, but we're here, dealing with some technological difficulties. But we are here, and for session 2 of our Waterdeep-Dragon Heist campaign. We're going to do the usual kit caboodle. We're going to do the recap and then get into the story. As I said, the last time we played, we are playing bi-weekly, and the sessions will be roughly around 2 hours-ish long, because of, obviously, time zones and everything else. We try and keep it pretty consistent. Don't poke T-Bear! What's up, dude? Welcome on in. First time chatter. Bear, we obviously let the D&D begin, of course. We raided Bear last night after our Rainbow Six, and I hung out over there a little bit. Neon, I jumped back in and noticed that Neon was playing as well before I went to bed. But welcome on in, Bear. What's up, Grim? Oh, look, there's a Grim there. Oh, look, he's over there too. But as usual, we're going to get into the recap, and we'll basically what we'll do is I'll go to the recap. We'll kind of reintroduce the characters a little bit as we go. So, firstly foremost, let's get into our... Got to be on the right thing. I've got to get to my DM stuff, which is over this monitor. So, without further ado, so guys, pretty much moving from now, there'll be very little interaction with the chat. So obviously talk amongst yourselves. There are channel points available which will give you advantage. You can give advantage to the players or a disadvantage to the DM. So 2 lots of channel points available. I've simplified that from our previous campaigns. Name the player if you want to give them advantage, and obviously the disadvantage to the DM gives me disadvantage on my next roll. And Ari, thanks for the biddies, appreciate it. All right. Without any further ado, we will kick off our story. Just give it a little bit more volume there. Last we left off, we met a group of individuals that had, on a request from a former employer by the name of Lord Stevens, bid them come to Waterdeep and in turn to the famous Yawning Portal Inn to meet with Waterdeep-Dragon, who has a job for them. Arriving at the portal, you were all directed to take a seat towards the back of the inn, and while you were getting to know each other somewhat, you basically, as Vola had not yet arrived, a fight broke out. Droplet loves a good fight and moved to get a better view. Jane, however, decided to try and heal the half-orc woman who was taking a rather savage beating, only to take a kick to the ribs for her troubles. The city guard then entered and broke the fight up and arrested the individuals involved and took them away. One of the city guardsmen, however, took a particular interest in one of your party members, stopping sort of a lingering look, but didn't really do much more than that. Shortly after that, a troll ascended from the depths of the Undermountain, killed one of the patrons, throwing them against the wall, leaving entrails all over the place, including its mouth, as it was clearly hungry. You reluctantly, well, some of you reluctantly entered into a battle, the troll rendering Droplet the Kenku unconscious. Xerxes also took a heavy blow, and then from behind the bar, an extremely loud report from what can only be described as a small cannon brings the combat to a close, defeating the troll in a spectacular fashion, as Durnan made his presence known. At this time, Volo appears and offers his job to you to find his lost friend, a man by the name of Floon Blagar. He's attractive yet dim-witted, but may or may not have been kidnapped. The information that you've been given is that he was last seen at the Skewered Dragon Inn in the south of the Dock Ward. And this is pretty much where we'll rejoin you guys now as you leave the Yawning Portal and start making your way southward. So on our little you guys won't see a map in the view in the chat, but we have a map up for the players. So you're moving south along Snail Street. Droplet, you obviously know the streets of the Dockward reasonably well. You spent the last year living in Waterdeep and working, so you've got a fair understanding of the Dockward itself. So your travel time will be a little swifter than usual. Anyone who doesn't know the streets would probably take some time to find their way around, but as you are familiar with the Dockward, and are also, I would say, somewhat familiar with the Skewered Dragon Inn also, it means you're able to move a little faster. Xerxes, you are also relatively familiar with the streets of the Dockward. It has been some time, however, since you've been here, but familiar streets. If you've been in anywhere any length of time, you still memory still generally serves you reasonably well. The name the Skewered Dragon holds probably fond and not so fond memories for Xerxes as well. And it's an inn you know, and you know the owners, or who owns it. Not so much the owners specifically, but you know who owns it, and the type of individuals you'll expect to find in such an establishment. The rest of you may have visited Waterdeep on occasion, but are generally probably not familiar with the area, and definitely not familiar with the Skewered Dragon specifically. So I'll turn it over to our players for a time while we travel along Snail Street, heading south and heading towards the Skewered Dragon Inn. You have your information. You know you're looking for a Mr. Floon Blagar, last seen drinking and gambling.
Not Mr. Flagon?
No, not Mr. Flagon, as Nutty tried to tell me earlier.
How are those ribs holding up?
Pretty good. That's okay. Had a spot of, you know, rest there for a bit, so it's fine.
Took a pretty heavy hit.
You get that. That's fine.
And you there, you're lucky to be alive.
Droplet just looks at you. Opens his beak. And you just hear,
everybody dies. Some just need a little help.
and then walks off.
It's a common happenstance when you mess with a troll, but you all seem very keen, so...
Well, it's the troll, or it's the rest of us.
Didn't realise that your man behind the bar was going to bring out that cannon thing.
It was impressive.
Rather.
That was a pretty neat tool you had there.
You guys are terrible.
We are. Oh,
Yeah, I think you made it a bit awkward for him, Dags. A strange one. You're all a bit strange, to be fair. Or not.
Take
fair.
that as a compliment.
There you go, he's got it.
Strange means different, and I like being different.
Well, I'm not sure it pays to stand out in a city like Waterdeep. Hopefully we don't stand out too much and draw too much attention. We're on a mission to find someone. We're not on a mission to draw any unwanted attention. I hope that's everyone's goal in this.
I tend not to draw too much attention if I can help it.
Certainly
From
not.
the direction of, from the direction of Droplet, all you hear is just some random cat noises.
Jane looks at Droplet. Just like, did that come from you?
Droplet opens his beak at you and makes the same cat noises as he walks on towards the Skewered Dragon.
I thought we were trying not to draw attention to us. Looks a bit weird. Anyhow, it's not exactly something I want to do either. I don't want to draw attention to myself here. Perhaps we should take some back streets rather than walking down the main street.
I'm guessing that somebody here knows where we're going.
I have been there before.
Okay.
You won't find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Ah, just my kind of place.
Best be prepared. And with a lookout. As we're walking, I'd like to just keep an eye out to see if I see anyone that I might recognize from a distance that might pay to just duck behind cover or turn around.
No worries.
To avoid getting seen.
As you leave the yawning portal and you start walking down this main thoroughfare of Snail Street, you converse as you walk. It's a brisk walk. You're not rushing, but you are definitely aware of people around you, people that might be taking a longer look than usual. You are suspicious by nature, and obviously being where you are and knowing some of the things and people that you know, you are probably a little bit more suspicious than the average person. So I'll get you to roll a perception check for me, Xerxes. First roll of the night.
17.
17. So with a 17, as you're talking, and every now and again you just have a quick glance up and down the street behind you, beside you. You don't really notice anyone you don't see anyone you recognize, first off. So no familiar faces or familiar characters skulking around or nearby. You do notice that the city guard, there is a heavy city guard presence in Waterdeep. And anyone who is from Waterdeep would understand this anyway. So Droplet, you would not be surprised to see city guard on most streets. Even some of the back alleys, you'll often find them patrolling. But these main streets, you see them quite prevalently. Usually in pairs, sometimes in threes and fours, depending on the time of day and what seems to be happening. But it's a relatively warm spring day, so it's by this stage. You met at the inn in the morning, so with the instancy, you're probably now approaching around lunchtime or just shortly after. So nothing really stands out to you at this point, Xerxes, but you do definitely clock those city guard, and there are enough of them for you to be cautious about how you approach people and act, perhaps. You continue your journey. You make your way down Snail Street. Over the next sort of 30 or 40 minutes or so, you eventually come to a junction of Snail Street, basically the junction of Snail and Fish Street, and you make your slight veer off to the left, following Xerxes and Droplet, who seems to be sort of skipping along happily in the front. It seems to be minding his own business. He seems entirely sort of happy in the way that he holds himself, almost skipping along, not unlike a bird would carry themselves. So Droplet, how let's sort of set a bit of a visual here for the players. I mean, obviously with and for the viewers at home, we've introduced the character, but how does Droplet hold himself when he's traveling? What is his general demeanor in this moment? Obviously, being in Waterdeep is familiar.
Yes, with his main upbringing being by his monk mentor, quite a confident man. He holds himself with that sort of squared shoulders, high head, you know, fairly straight walk, but it's a little bit awkward for him because he's got bird feet. So every now and again, just to regain his balance, he just has to do that little, as you say, hop his feet a little bit, like a little bird, lean forward like he's a little crow running across the floor, and then corrects his posture and carries on walking like every normal human around him.
Yeah, that's the impression I would get.
This is weird. He thinks this is just standard walking.
Yeah, so, and on top of that as well, how alert would Droplet be with his surroundings as a general rule?
Oh, he's looking at most faces, mostly with his eyes rather than turning, as he goes past, just to clock whether or not somebody is a threat, perhaps somebody's a target. He may or may not have a few jobs in the back of his mind just to see.
Indeed. The one thing you guys would all notice,
he'll check the rooftops.
Yeah, the one thing you guys would all notice is every now and again you hear the sounds of a city. Obviously, this is a big city. There's a lot of things going on. You're in the dock ward, so you're a little further off the docks, but you would on occasion on the air you would hear the cries of vendors in the background trying to sell their wares, fishermen, things like that. There's in the dock ward towards the docks themselves, I would say, is an open air market which has a whole range of things. Ships coming in, they're selling cloth and spices and fish and all manner of different things on the dock itself. So you would often catch those voices sort of carrying on the air occasionally as well. You might even find a town crier standing on a corner giving information about what's happening in the city. On occasion, just not unlike a newspaper boy standing on a corner selling newspapers, just literally calling out the events of the day. And one such cry you do hear, it's obviously gotten around that a troll had crawled out of the Undermountain and been defeated in the Yawning Portal. And the town crier, this young chap, probably 14 or 15 years old, maybe, standing on the corner. Troll crawls out of the Yawning Portal, attacks the local populace, defeated by a bunch of heroes. And says a couple of such things. You see one of the city guardsmen sort of standing next to him, almost scoff at the whole heroes mention, as it seems like the whole place is full of heroes. It could have been anyone, kind of deal. Like, it sort of just really dismisses the whole thing. You make the turn. Droplet, you mentioned the rooftops in particular. Are you paying particular attention to the rooftops as you make this turn, heading further southward towards Fillet Lane?
Well, normally every sort of 2 or 3 buildings that we've got past, he's looking up and checking the ones ahead, just to see if there's anything going on up there.
I'll get you to make a perception. I'll get you to make a perception roll as well, please.
Cool. That's working on it.
Obviously, at the moment, you'll have to run it from your character sheets. Nice roll. 21. Droplet is very perceptive, and his eyes dart quickly from side to side and from building top to building top. I would say that his head doesn't move a whole lot in these sort of situations. It's more his eyes, and anyone sort of, it would be kind of subtle too in a lot of respects. But the rooftops look relatively clear. At one point you see a window open from a 2-story building, and a woman lean out and dump a basin of water out into the street, as you would often see, whether it's washing water or something. It sort of gives a yell, look out below, as she fires the water out of the window, making sure not to hit anyone in the street. But apart from that, the rooftops seem relatively clear. While you're walking as well, I will... Then we move to Jane Smith. You are somewhat familiar with Waterdeep, but not at the same time. How does Jane hold herself when she walks? And what is Jane looking out for in particular, if anything?
As I'm walking, I'm just looking around to see what kind of people there might be and if I recognise anybody. I'm walking quite tall and as a female would.
I mean, you would
gracefully.
definitely not, I would say straight off the bat, you definitely wouldn't recognise anyone in Waterdeep. You're not from here, obviously. You've visited in your time. Obviously, most people have. It's a large city. There's not a lot of people that haven't been to Waterdeep. You know of Waterdeep, and you know about the Undermountain. That's very famous. The Dungeon of the Mad Mage is located underneath the city, and all the talk about that. The adventurers that come to the city talk about it all the time. You and your family have had business dealings definitely here in the past. But I probably wouldn't need to worry about any kind of check view. Like I said, you would definitely not recognise anyone. Not in a busy street anyway.
I just walk as I do, gracefully and confidently.
So relatively upright.
Yes.
Almost noble in the way she
Almost.
walks. It's what are you guys passives? Let me have a quick look. I would say out of any of you, let's have a quick nosy here. Dags, Droplet maybe. Elliot probably wouldn't care. And yeah, Xerxes definitely not. So Elliot, not Elliot, Droplet and Dags, you would be probably the only two that would have noticed. Jane at times walks very proper and then catches herself and starts to hunch a little bit, sort of slumps the shoulders forward slightly, changes the gait of her step, just ever so slightly, as though she's purposely trying not to walk proper, for want of a better term. She has almost a noble gait about her at times, and then catches herself, and you see her sort of alter that step a little bit. So you two would definitely notice that. The rest, the other two, not so much. Elliot, how does Elliot hold himself as he walks the street with these new companions? And what is he looking for, if anything?
Elliot would try and keep a bit of distance from the others, and he'd sort of walk more his age, if not older than he normally would, sort of trying to look like an old, unintimidating man. And when the guard was talking about heroes, he's like, yeah, that could have been anyone. My grandson was a hero till he took an arrow to the knee. The city's full of wannabe heroes. It's all poppycock. And then sort of like, he's also like keeping an eye on the others to make sure they don't stir any shit, because he's not going to put up with dealing with these people if they're going to stir shit for him. So he's just trying to stay unassuming for the most part.
Fair enough too. And definitely as you're walking, you feel that gift, shall we call it. It's sort of, as you're walking, it sort of rises within you, and it's uncomfortable. as much as it's been with you for some time now, it's so every time it sort of rises within you, it's an uncomfortable, it's a dark feeling. But you're kind of getting used to it, almost, not quite. An annoyance as well. Like it's definitely something that obviously you're not happy about having this gift, but it's there. You're somewhat getting used to it, but at the same time you hate it at the same time.
Yep.
And it rises ever so slightly. The hairs on the back of your neck stand up, give that little bit of a shiver down your spine. And as
Elliot
you
would grit his teeth and go, sorry, buddy.
No, where you go.
Keep in your fucking lane.
And you just and again, in the back of your mind, you know it's taunting you, pushing. It's just trying to get that rise out of you, that trying to get some form of emotional response. It just pushes on the back of your mind. You had that dull sort of thud of a headache starting to sort of form at the back of your skull. And it stays there for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and then as it starts to dissipate, you just hear this the slightest whisper. I'm always here.
Shut up.
So again, I'd say with passives, with this particular moment, Droplet not so much. You're right at the front, leading Xerxes up the front. So probably Dags, you would probably sort of catch the audible whatever, like the shut up that's just being said under his breath, but you're close enough and probably perceptive enough to notice that. Jane, let's just check yours. Yeah, you're probably able to notice that as well.
I would probably, if I heard that, turn around and say, "Oh, Elliot, are you okay?"
Just the tick of the age, love. It'll be all right.
But you don't look adult.
He kind of, yeah, he kind of does.
I'm being nice.
Fair enough.
I get the feeling he's a crotchety old man, so we need to, give him compliments occasionally.
Fair call. So with that, is Elliot focusing on anything else but that at this point? I mean, with that rising, would that sort of catch him off guard and maybe draw his focus away from anything else that he may be looking for?
He really is sort of very concerned about this team he's a part of. So he's really just focused on how they're carrying themselves and whether they're going to draw any attention to him.
Make a perception roll for me.
Okay.
So I'm assuming you're going to scan over each one of them and just watch them for a moment as you're traveling.
Perception.
Natural 20. Well. Hey, why did my natural 20 not come up? I'm going to have to fix that. Anywho. I think I know why it didn't come up. Natural 20 is over there. Look at that. Let's give me 1 second. So natural 20, you... Oh, I know why. That's why. You would watch your companions. Let's see if that'll work now.
This may be a good time to mention that on Droplet's beak there are no cat noises coming out.
No cat noises.
But if anybody here has played Halo, the orchestral vocalizing from the menus is definitely the best way to describe what is coming out.
Why is that? So, source visibility show. Be seen. Ah, that's why. That's changed. I gotta fix it. Give me 1 second, guys. So yeah, so you look over your first of your companions, and the closest to you would probably be Dags at this point. So, Dags, how does Dags hold himself as he's walking these streets with these new companions?
Dax would likely be like
There we
it's
go.
not obvious that he's like hiding, like he's trying to like tuck his head, but it is obvious.
Okay, so we've also
He's trying to not be obvious, but he is obviously like slunking.
definitely. So you've seen, we've obviously just with Xerxes, we'll get to you in a second. So you've seen how Jane holds herself. You've now caught that same thing. You've caught the every now and again, just probably she just forgets herself and becomes more upright, more noble in the way she walks, and then catches herself. It's like maybe a couple of steps and she catches herself and changes the way her posture a little bit. Droplet is definitely walking upright as any humanoid, and every now and again just that double hop, like that little hop step. That should have turned off by now. 8 seconds. That one. Oh, damn it. Sorry, I'm just fixing a couple of things in the background. Turn it off. Good. So that's them. Dags is definitely suspicious in the way that he holds himself. He's purposely trying to avert his head whenever a city guardsman walks past or is within close proximity, or some even nobility to a certain degree. You can see his head drop and the hood comes down a little bit lower as he's trying to avoid eye contact of these particular, the city guards specifically, probably the most noticeable. Like maybe he's, I mean, to you would probably take that as maybe is he wanted, like is he trying to hide on purpose, or does he just doesn't like authority, that kind of thing. It's definitely fairly obvious to you now that you're watching. Xerxes, you've obviously been watching this, looking out for who might be following, someone who might recognize you specifically, or anything of that nature. How does Xerxes hold himself as he walks the streets otherwise, as he's being observed?
As he's walking, you kind of will see a slight hobble, like ever so slight, but he doesn't walk completely upright. Not slinking necessarily, but like he's uncomfortable. But every time he feels like someone's looking in his direction, he'll do the old face scratch, or look down to make sure that he wasn't standing on some animal feces or something left on the ground. Just to sort of avoid eye contact as much as possible, despite the fact that he's wearing the mask.
So that's what you observe of your newfound companions at this point. You've made that turn onto continuing along Snail Street, and I'd say by now, maybe an hour or so has passed. You make a left turn again onto Fillet Lane. Walking along Fillet Lane, maybe a couple of 100 feet down Droplet, you stop at an alleyway. As well, actually, you would all hear this as you sort of start coming down Fillet Street. you turn that corner heading down a slight alleyway, you find yourselves now on it's a narrow street, not really an alley. It looks like an alley as you go to turn into it, but it's more of a narrow street. And you find several city guard blocking the street in front of you. 3 or 4 of them, spears, shields. And as you sort of peer beyond this cordon of city guard, you notice maybe half a dozen bodies lying in the street. Many are bloodied. There's obvious signs of a fight of some description. You see 3 blood-drenched humans on their knees, hands bound, sort of half up against a wall on the right-hand side of this narrow street, with 2 or 3 more city guards standing around them in a sort of a guarding position. They're not talking to them, they're sort of guarding them. You see that a few other city guardsmen questioning other people standing in the street. And one of the taller one looks a little, maybe half orcish in race, steps forward, spear and shield out the front, very regimented, steps forward and says, "Get on with you, nothing to see here."
Jane is looking at these people that the guards have got and mentally goes through her checklist of what Volo told them Mr.
Mr.
Dagmar
Flume
looks like. Yeah. And it's like none of them match that mental
at a quick
picture.
glance, from the distance you're at, you're definitely not going to get a good look at any of the bodies. Some of them are face down. The ones that you can see, you can probably pretty quickly determine that they're definitely not fitting description of Floon. The 3 captives, I would say from your distance, you would determine they're probably not him.
Okay, so she just kind of looks at them and goes, "Oh," and carries on.
So do you all turn and walk away, or what do you do? We'll go around individually. So we'll start with Droplet, Droplet and Xerxes, who would be in the front, definitely.
Droplet would look at the vocal guard, and his beak would drop open, and you would hear those softer tones from a certain Volo. Skewered dragon? And then close.
Okay. The guard actually looks at Droplet, kind of tilts his head slightly with a little bit of a confused look on his face, and again repeats, "Get on with you. Nothing to see here. Move on."
At which point the sort of Halo menu vocalizing resumes as Droplet just walks off down the street around the corner.
How does Xerxes react?
He turns his head ever so slightly without again making eye contact, just enough to sort of gauge the scene, but immediately turning back to look at the ground again. As he continues to walk on without changing step or breaking step, is there any sort of sense that I can gauge of the mood of the guards? Are they doing just their usual work of standing here?
Yeah, it looks like it's essentially what you were. I mean, I think you'd all probably get this sense too. So this is for everyone. Looking at sort of what's happened, the 3 or 4 that are blocking the road, they definitely look like they're doing their job. This is something that they do regularly. It's something that happens a lot. The ones guarding much the same. The ones that you can sort of see that are questioning some of the populace, it almost comes across that this is happening more often than it usually has. Like, and Droplet, you being in Waterdeep as for the last 12 months, you would have noticed also that the violent incursions with some of the less legal factions within Waterdeep have been spilling out onto the streets more often. So the Zentarum, the Xanathar Guild specifically have been, their turf war, if you will, has been spilling out onto the local streets more so than it has done in the past, especially in the last sort of 6 or 7 months. So there's more of these happenings where, and looking at them, Xerxes, you would almost immediately notice that several of the bodies lying in the street of Zentarum faction. I mean, Droplet, you would know that as well. You know what the factions look like, sort of the uniforms that they sort of wear to distinguish themselves. You would know them as Zentarum as well. Having a quick glance over at the captives, I would say Droplet, you would know them to be Xanathar Guild. Xerxes probably not so much. The Xanathar Guild garb has changed somewhat since you were last here. So you probably get maybe an inkling, but Droplet would definitely know. So Jane, you've obviously observed looking for Floon. Do you turn and walk away with Xerxes and Droplet after having a quick glance, or do you press your luck?
No, I kind of look and think, no point. Let's keep going.
Dags, how does Dags react at this sort of situation? You and Elliot are sort of more to the back of the group.
To an extent, I feel like Dags would see a dead body and kind of, just for a second, like, have a hiccup kind of moment. Just freeze up, just not like a ghost, but he'd have a memory kind of thing, like, oh shit. And
I think Dags would probably know that they are some of these dead bodies are Zentarum as well. He'd have a rough understanding of some of the factions.
And he'd start to notice that everyone else is kind of moving along and just kind of.
Yeah, I think Dags would definitely not. Yeah, I think Dags would definitely not push the issue, knowing he doesn't want to draw the attention of the city guard for sure.
Wide berth.
Yeah, so he would definitely
deal.
move. And Elliot, how does Elliot react to this scene and obviously what has been said?
So Elliot probably keeping a closer eye on Dags than anyone else for his weird behavior, would probably realize that he's not as comfortable as he'd like, and he'd sort of try and make himself bigger so that Dags can sort of get by, and he'd just say to the others, not our human, not our problem, and they would just walk off with the others.
Indeed, as you are turned away by the city guard, you move back out into Fillet Lane. Xerxes and Droplet, you would know that you have another avenue to get to the Skewered Inn. This is not the only side street that would allow you access to the Skewered Inn. You'd follow Fillet Lane for a short distance further and turn down a slightly narrower, this time definitely an alleyway. The buildings, and just to give you guys a bit more of an idea of how built up this is, in this particular area, especially this part of the dock ward, you've got 2- and 3-story buildings all in very close proximity. Think of old London. You see the old, like the what movie can I reference here? Probably the one with Heath Ledger in it, when he was the knight, when he goes home to his father's Knight's Tale, exactly. When he goes back into the cheap side, and you've got all the old 2- and 3- and 4-storied tenement style old fishing buildings and stuff like that. That's pretty much what this is all like, but it's all close together. Very narrow sort of alleys, darkened alleys with awnings and all sorts of stuff sort of over the top to protect from the rain, if there was any. So this alley is quite dark and narrow as you turn down it. Droplet, you know it well. You've probably been down this alley a number of times in recent days, in fact, dealing with a previous job employment. So this area is a little bit familiar to you, and eventually you come across the entrance to the Skewered Dragon. It faces the alley between Net Street and Fillet Lane. You would also know that there's an old Zoblob shop, which is a curiosity shop in this area as well. The Skewered Dragon building itself, as you approach it, all of you, it looks like it's a ruin. It looks run down, it's old. Both its front-facing windows are completely smashed out. It's got a ship's anchor lodged in the roof, which is odd in itself. But through the windows, you can see a group of haggard, sort of disheveled patrons, all sort of, a few of them huddled around the table. There's a fireplace out there, and they're drinking from wooden tankards. And they're not small, they're big. Like probably liter and a half tankards, and big cups. So you have arrived at your destination.
I just stop and briefly just look around at everybody and just say, like I said, scum and villainy, watch yourselves before heading in.
A man like Volo doing in a place like this?
I
Good
kind of
question.
step a little closer to Xerxes and Elliot and just kind of look around.
Yes, I would say Jane is going to feel really uncomfortable in a place like this. This is not an establishment that she would be used to at all. Xerxes will feel a little bit at home, kinda. Dags, to a certain degree, will probably be the same. It's not an establishment he's not used to. Droplet is fairly comfortable around most places, especially with what his former employment has been, so it probably doesn't bother him too much either.
Droplet's probably just walking through the front door and just going in.
Elliot, I'd say Elliot's probably not unfamiliar with this type of dive either, to be fair. It's definitely not something he would frequent if he unless he absolutely had to, but he's definitely not unfamiliar, I would imagine. Just with the history that I have of Elliot, I would say that if he could find a drink in a place like this, he'd definitely go there.
We better follow the bird. He's gone on ahead.
So you move in, all of you move in, Droplet entering in, confident as confident can be, strolls in, you follow him behind. But as I said, you do find a number of patrons in this small inn. Again, nothing, it's not busy, not like the Yawning Portal, but it's not quiet either. There's murmurings. I will just run the Crowded Tavern audio, but I'll run it quietly. So, and as I said, these patrons look haggard, disheveled. They're not wealthy by any means, or any stretch of the imagination. You've got a group of maybe 2 or 3 sitting at one table, drinking. There's a pair sitting at a table towards the back of this, and it's not a huge place. It's a fairly small establishment. Looks like it's got an upstairs. They might have rooms available. I'm not sure. Xerxes, as you look around the room as soon as you enter, you would probably not so much recognize the barkeep, but he definitely has a familiar face. He's wearing a familiar garb, and the rest of you would probably recognize this garb as the same as some of the bodies in the street that you've just seen. So I'll turn it back over to you as you enter the Skewered Dragon.
I try and stay out of direct line of sight of the barkeep.
Okay.
At least with my back turned to him most of the time, and just survey the room. Do I see any notable members, shall we say?
Not at this stage. It seems that by the looks of it, actually now that you're looking at the patrons, probably dock workers, fishermen perhaps. There's definitely a strong smell of old fish in the building, and like sweat and that real sort of body odor smell, mixed in with fish and old food. It's stale ale as well. Like it's not a nice place, and it never has been. The barkeep sort of looks up and grunts as, sort of in your general direction as you guys walk in, and sort of just nods his head towards some of the empty tables, basically telling you pretty much sit where you want. Doesn't seem to be any barmaids or like any servers, so it's up to you what you're doing, but that's pretty much what you observe at this point.
I'll head towards one of the tables, specifically where there's a seat that I can keep my back to him.
No problem. Duly noted. What is everyone else doing?
Droplet goes straight to the bar.
As you do.
I would go with Droplet.
Okay. Elliot and Dags.
Elliot will look for Dags. Sounds like he's looking at the sheep's house. But anyway. And then either failing to find him or feeling confident that he is all right where he is now, he would also go up to the bar with the bird and Droplet.
Bird and bird. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Good call. Good call. Dags, what is Dags doing? Is Dags going with Xerxes or the group?
He would probably go with Xerxes, and instead of sitting in a chair, like backrest to the back, he's gonna sit in a chair, backrest to the front, arms crossed in front of him.
Okay, so he's going to turn the chair around and sit over the chair that way? Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem. So we have Xerxes and Dags sitting at the table. There is another empty table between you and the next table of the two gentlemen that are sort of nursing a tankard of ale each, and probably about 10 feet towards the center of the room is where you've got a table of three. It's probably 3 or 4. They look like dock workers, and they look like, looking at them, you'd say they're probably hardened regulars. They look like they belong here almost, and part of the furniture type deal. The rest of you, as you approach the bar, the barkeep, human, probably in his maybe mid-40s, really short, scruffy, dark brown hair. He's got a goatee not unlike my own, a little bit of grey coming in the sides, wearing just simple clothing, a bar apron, and even though he's got a rag in his hand and he seems to be sort of wiping down the bar, the rag is dirty as hell. The bar looks like it's dirty as hell. Like, this place is not clean by any stretch of the imagination either. It's not a very nice place, but he doesn't seem to care. And he sort of, as you guys approach, he grabs a mug, spits into it, and starts wiping it out with a rag and sets it on the bar. Yeah, what do you want? Sort of looking over all three of you. And he's paying particular attention to you, Jane. He seems to, his gaze seems to come back to you, even though he sort of looks at Droplet, then looks at Elliot. He's kind of eyeing all of you because, I mean, all of you stand out in this place. You're all far too well dressed to be in here.
I give him my biggest smile, flatter my eyelashes.
And he just sort of, he almost grimaces when you do it and turns his attention away from you.
I was going to say 5 mugs of your best ale, sir.
Best?
Well,
Sure,
you know.
why not? And he sort of turns. He just turns,
You most popular?
scoops up big 5 big tankards, and you got the big beer barrel behind him, and he turns a tap, squeaks heavily, wood on wood, and you hear the ale pour into the mugs as he sort of turns and dumps it onto the counter, spilling it everywhere. It's like, I'd say it's probably half full of liquid and half full of head, like he just hasn't poured it well at all. Dumps it, and he says, that'd be 2 gold.
He gives him 2 gold and a copper for his efforts.
Yeah, he just grunts at you, scoops up the coin, puts it into his pocket.
I just look at the 2. I look at Droplet and I look at Elliot, and I grab 3 of the mugs.
Grab whichever one's mostly head, and I'm like, I can feel my insides corroding already.
And then take them back over to the table.
Yeah,
with
even
Xerxes
picking
and
up the mugs, like you pick them up and you can feel the grit on the handles, like they're dirty. They're not clean at all.
I sit down, I kind of look at the 2, look at Dags and look at Xerxes and say, I probably wouldn't drink that if I was you.
Just for show.
As you say that, I scull the entire thing in one lot.
It tastes nasty, like really nasty. It is not good ale at all. It's probably been in that barrel for a long time. It's not, I mean, there's a decent head on it, but it even though it looks like it's full of bubbles, it's flat and it's just nasty.
And I do that particularly on purpose to get some of the heads on my face, and I don't wipe it off.
Okay.
Swilly.
Maybe we should have gone with whiskey. Do you think whiskey would have been a better beverage?
Either he fits in or he's trying to fit in, and I don't know if I want to know the answer.
Just
Are
kind
there
of,
any, bar
you
stools
go.
at the bar?
No, there are not.
Shame.
So do you all go back to the table, or does
Stay at the bar.
you stay at the bar? He he watches the others leave, and he sort of looks at you, Droplet. And what, you want something else?
Droplet's piercing white eyes just lay into this poor man as his beak opens, and you hear once again the very soft tones of Volo. Fluin Blagmar, last seen at the Skewered Dragon. Noble, long coat, reddish brown, sandy brown hair, red scarf, green trousers, brown boots. And then he stops talking.
You definitely see a flicker of recognition in his face. You don't need a high perception to see that. It's quite evident. And then he just sort of looks at you and nods towards the table behind you. The 4 gentlemen, well, and I use gentlemen loosely. The 4 individuals sitting at the table behind you. And he turns and starts.
In the recognizable uniforms.
No, the barkeep has wearing the garb of Zentarum. The 4 individuals at the table look like they're probably dock workers. But he sort of grunts and nods towards them.
Droplet turns and leaves.
No worries. And that's a good time to take a break because I need to pee. So we're about an hour in, so we're going to take a short break, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to because I need to pee really bad, and I guess everyone else needs to maybe either pee or get a drink. And a pee sub. Look at that. We got a pee sub, and I think we got a follow before as well. A couple of follows, and another sub as well from Natural 20s. Rock on, Natural 20s with a sub. We've got a pee sub from Grib. And we got a follow as well from, I don't know how to say that name, Safrud, no, whatever, Safrud, I'm going to call you Safrud. Commercial time, yay! But break time, definitely. Yeah, I hope that, I'm going to Has anyone had any ads? Because if we had, I really should turn that shit off. I forgot all about that.
I've got the stream up and not for me.
Not for you. I think
Me
you're
neither.
subbed. I think you're subbed though.
Yeah,
So
we're both subbed.
I'm going to go in and turn the ads off just because I dare say I'm going to go in and turn the ads
Natural
off.
20 said he had 8 in a row.
It was
kidding
a
me?
pre-roll ad for sure.
I've got to turn that shit off. That's terrible. Sorry about that, guys. I mean, bloody bitching their fucking ads. So yeah, so we're going to take a short break. I'm just going to fix this whole ad thing. And I do apologize for the ads. Let's turn that rubbish off. No, I'm not going to give you feedback. We're just going to turn it off. Leave the stream display ads on. Cool. Right, that should be fixed. So I do apologize, chat, for anyone that's experienced a crap ton of ads. You thought your sub to be... That's fine. Sticks gifting a tier 1 sub to Roll20 Dad as well. Welcome in, Roll20 Dad. Good to see you, buddy. So we're going to be right back. I'm going to run the BRB screen, and I'm going to have a pee and things and stuff. We'll come back. We'll have a quick chat with the chat before we get back into it. So don't go anywhere. What's up? PC Comp Geek, what's up? Thanks for the biddies, dude. Appreciate it. We're just going to wait for everyone to come back before we kick off. But my name's Evldoa. I'm from little old New Zealand in the South Pacific. I am a stay-at-home dad. I'm a GM. I'm a gamer. I'm a musician. Do all sorts of things and stuff around the place. Why? Oh, it's because someone turned their camera off, so I'm over there too. Look, I'm over there. I'm here twice. I was wondering why I was seeing myself in Nutty's camera, because she obviously turned her camera off. But anywho, Oh, now I'm on sticks because Grim's camera's off. There we go. Now, oh, look at that. There we're back. Evil's a nutty. No, nutty's an evil. No, that's not right either. But anywho, as I said, I'm a GM from New Zealand over here. We've got some awesome players here from all over the world, actually. We've got Grim and Sticks from Australia. And Nutty obviously is in the next room. She's my better half. And we've got Neon all the way from Scotland. And Dill Cripple from the US. So a good cast, a good range of cast members as well. So we are playing Waterdeep-Dragon Heist. This is session 2 of our story. So you've come in right at a good time. It's right in the start of the campaign. It runs from level 1 to level 5. Our characters are level 2 already, as you can see in the spam down below. We have Grim playing Elliot Duskborn, a Tiefling Warlock. We have Nutty Tart playing Human Druid Jane Smith. Neon Reptile playing a Droplet, the Kinku Monk. We've got Sticks and Stones playing Xerxes Devrain, the Half-Drow Paladin, and Dill Cripple playing Dags, a Half-Elf Rogue. So a cool party as well. Trash is coming. I mean, Trash. I haven't killed your character, so I mean, I could kill your character first, then kill all these guys. I mean, we could do that. I mean, your character's technically still alive in Paradigm, so he always wants to kill everyone when he comes in. He's so hostile.
Down for a challenge.
But thank you for the biddies, PC Comp Geek. That's awesome. We got a level 2 hype train going. We've got a minute left. 50% on the level 2 hype train. Obviously, biddies, subs, or biddies and subs, I think it is, or gifted subs will complete the hype train. But we're gonna kick back off to the story. I hope you guys enjoy. We've probably got maybe just over an hour-ish to go, and we keep our sessions a little shorter than usual because of the time zones and such. So they usually run for just over a couple of hours, maybe 2.5 hours. We've got a gifted sub. PC Comp Geek Grim Real is gifting a sub. Thank you, Grim. Appreciate that. Beware of Jane Smith. She's a traitor. Oh, come on. PB's fine. It's my other channel. I got. Oh, you got. Oh, it's from you, Natural 20s. Of course. Oh, look at that. We hit Natural 20s dropping 5 gifted subs. Holy shitballs. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Tinsky, Giza Games, Omnia Tenshi, DJ, and Vancouver Adjacent getting gifted subs. Sub hype indeed. Level 2 complete. Look at that. Now we've got 5 minutes on the next level. Brilliant. And we're 6 subs away from our goal. Holy crap. And that goal was just a cheeky goal because of all the gifted subs we got the other night. So you guys are awesome. I appreciate it very, very much. And she may or may not try and kill other players. Yes, she's good at TKing. Definitely. So we will return to the Skewered Dragon Inn once again. Appreciate all the support, guys. Means heaps indeed. So we return to the Skewered Inn. Droplet has just been told, well, basically being moved to the table behind him where 4 dock workers are sitting, drinking and eating. Again, the smell of stale booze, fish and body odor is very evident in this dive of an establishment. Broken windows. There's a fireplace and the fire's barely going. Luckily it's springtime and it's relatively warm. Otherwise this place would be a cold dive. So we will leave Droplet there for just a moment and we'll turn back to the table where everyone else is now seated. Xerxes has just downed this nasty tasting ale for whatever reason are his own. We have Dags sitting on a turned around chair. We've got Xerxes with his back to the barkeep, and Jane and Elliot have just joined you at the table with
Jane
ale.
Looks at Xerxes and watches closely in case he keels over.
It's
Advise you all finish your drinks. It's not welcome to leave them sitting here and unfinished, untouched.
She kind of puts her back to the bar, stands quite close to Xerxes, and does the whole switcheroo.
Because if you don't finish it, they just pour it back in the keg.
Oh, accidentally falls over and knocks it on the floor.
Sounds like someone else's problem. Not resuscitating you if you keel over, you know. Jane, you can handle that, you. With the magic and stuff.
Sure can, but yes, no, I wouldn't. Yeah, no. I'm looking at this ale, wondering if there's bits crawling around. It looks like there's things crawling around in it.
And speaking of bits, where's the bird?
And as we shift our focus back to Droplet, is Droplet approaching said table with the individuals, or is he going back to the table with the rest of his companions?
Droplet is approaching the individuals. For better or worse.
So at this table you have what looks to be a dwarf, hard to determine age, again scruffy, dirty. They're definitely dock workers with the way that they're dressed. One human maybe looks like probably what I'd say would be more like a quarter elf. You can see a slight point to the ears, but definitely more human than elf. And one of them looks to be dragonborn, but kind of emaciated, like dragonborn that you've seen specifically, and most people know dragonborn are quite broad-shouldered and quite stocky and generally reasonably well built. This guy's quite thin and looks like he probably doesn't eat very well, definitely doesn't look after himself. Again, they're all fairly dirty and smelly, but those are your 4 individuals at the table.
First off, Droplet will stand just at that table to see if any of them turn to him.
The dwarf probably raises an eyebrow as you approach, keeping not sort of fully turning to you, but keeping sort of half an eye on sort of where you're headed, and pulls his anchored in a little closer to himself, almost protective, like maybe wondering whether you're going to try and steal his drink or food. Like you get the impression that these guys probably are definitely regulars here. They drink here a lot, and he sort of pulls his anchored in closer to him.
Cool. When I reach the table then no one seems to react more strongly. Droplet's beak will open and repeat what he said
To the bar.
at the bar.
So Volo's voice once again is sent forth, and the dwarf again sort of takes more of a note of you, looks sort of up and down and raises an eyebrow, and you can see now as he sort of turns to you, he looks like he's I mean, dwarves live a long time, so it's kind of hard to determine exact sort of age here, but he's reddish grey hair, matted. He's got braids down the side, but it's all that hasn't been washed for a long time. His beard's sort of matted and grey. He's got food bits in it, and looks like there might be lice jumping out of his beard. It's pretty disgusting. And he sort of looks up. What the fuck are you? He's always trying to make out what you are, like he's never seen. Oh, who'd we lose? We lost Grim. No. Someone broke Grim.
Now I am Grim.
Now you are Grim. Hopefully he comes back. We'll carry on anyway.
His net just packed it, he said, so he should hopefully be back shortly.
No way. It's all good. We will, give me a second. I'm going to have to, who are we missing here? This is why I hate Discord. We'll carry on anyway. We'll keep going. But, so we're focusing on Neon at the moment. So yes, so you get that whole, who the fuck is you? But what the fuck are you? Sort of squinting and looking closer to you.
Droplet replies with his name.
Give me a second. I've got to find Droplet's name. And you get that same confused look response. He sort of looks at you and it's like, fuck off with you. And goes back to his drink, takes a big sort of gulp out of his drink, and it runs down his beard, and sort of turns back to his friends, and they start sort of murmuring sort of back with himself again. Sort of they're just talking amongst each other. And even though Dragonborn sort of looks and gives you a bit of a, not like a full-on growl, but gives you that sort of bit of a grunt, sort of looking your way as if to say, like, step away or else kind of thing. It's fairly intimidating. Sort of, I mean, not that it's intimidating to you, but it's that has that intent. It's an intimidation intent.
Is the last terrible beer on the bar still?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go grab that and bring it to the table.
Get back when you can, Grim. So with that,
Not the friends table.
you're going to take it to their table?
I'm taking it to the dwarf.
You can take it to the dwarf. Give me 1 second. I just need to find... we need to make a little bit of a shift here, I think. Oh, jeebus. Not that one, not that one. I just need to put Xerxes in the frame while we're waiting.
He's half me and half him.
I know, it's...
And I'm Neon.
Yeah, it's all. I'm just gonna leave it. There's nothing I can really do it. People can hear you. It's all good. We'll deal with this. This is why Discord is a pain in my butt. Anywho, so you return to the table with said ale, and you plonk it down in front of the dwarf. And do you say anything?
And I repeat exactly what I said to the barman again about Floon.
Dwarf, sort of again, as you approach this time, it looks very annoyed as you sort of disturb him once again. But putting the mug down, he sort of looks at it, looks at you as you repeat your previous statement. And he sort of turns over his shoulder and looks back at the table where the rest of you are sitting. And he almost dismisses you, Droplet, and turns to the rest of you and says, "This thing belonged to you."
Yes, he does. And I
You might want to tell your friend to take his mug and take a seat before he gets himself hurt.
Oh, I wander over to the table and look at this dwarf and smile at him and say, "We're just looking for a friend." Well, we're looking for somebody. I won't say a friend.
Take it as
when
this
she says that-
Floon character that your pet was talking about.
Oh, he's not my pet. He's a friend.
You sure about that? Strange creature. Don't see them around here very much. The last one I saw strung up by its feet over a fire.
I
Plucked.
step closer to...
Smelt bloody good
Droplet.
too.
Oh,
Quite
Yeah,
tasty, I hear.
we don't
He
eat
sort of scratches his beard and you see the lice jump out of his beard as he
these
scratches.
things. And I look at him and say, "I might have a remedy for that if you need it.
But what?
Your,
What's wrong with it? You got a
these
problem?
things." No. I
Then
just,
fuck
you
off
know.
then.
Wow, is that how you talk to a lady?
He sort of looks around the room. Don't see any.
She looks at him. She looks at Droplet. Thinks about it for a second.
You want some information?
Remembers where she is and just looks at him and said, well, yes, actually, we are after some information, if you wouldn't mind.
And you best learn the currency around here. It's not ale.
And she kind of puts her hand in her pocket and says, gold?
Don't forget to mark off the gold you've already spent.
I have.
Yeah. And how much gold do you offer him?
3.
He looks up at you and raises an eyebrow and sort of just doesn't say anything. Just waits.
4.
Getting warmer.
5.
I think I can part with some information for that.
She holds the gold in her hand and puts it on the table, keeping her hand on top of it.
He puts his hand down next to yours. Actually, he puts his hand on top of yours. His hands are rough, like calloused and rough. I'll take half that now. I'll give you information. I'll take the rest after. What you say?
Slides a couple of gold into his hand.
And he slides it back, puts it into his pocket, leans back on his chair. So Elliot, Elliot, if you haven't heard that, the dwarf is now addressing Jane. He's basically told Droplet to fuck off. He's called Droplet a pet. You'd be aware of this, like, because he addressed the table about Droplet, and is very gruff and not even passively aggressive. He's quite aggressive in the way that he's speaking. Jane is now talking to him, and he's basically, he told her to fuck off as well. Jane's said there's no way to talk to a lady, and the dwarf turned around and said he doesn't see any. So that's where we're at. And she just handed over some gold to get some information about Floon. So he sort of leans back and says, I remember your friend, as you call him. He was here maybe 2 nights ago, drinking with that scad Volo. Fucking liar. Charlatan.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't believe anything comes out of that one. Now here with another friend as well. Lord Neverember. Fucking nobles. Pieces of shite, all of them. But they were here. They were drinking. Volo left. Maybe around midnight. Bloon stuck around with a fucking upstart November. Chip off the old block, that one. Just another spoiled rich noble, if you ask me. The two drank and played a few rounds of 3 Dragon Ante before leaving. I did see, what's that? He turns to the Dragonborn and says, wasn't it like 5 of them? Dragonborn goes, aye, 5. 5 individuals followed them out. Didn't see him again. Haven't seen him since.
Didn't see what direction they went in.
And he points to the door.
Right. Thank you for that.
I tell you what though, that fucking that little upstart fucking Neverember, sorry.
Rena?
Reinar. I can't fucking, I don't know.
Reiner?
Reina, whatever the fuck his name is. He's a prick anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But he's known to, I'm pretty sure I've seen him on Candle Lane. There's a warehouse down there. Quite often goes in there. Don't know what for, but look for the snake symbol on the door. Can't really miss it.
Sweet. And with that, she just slides the rest of the gold into his hand.
And he literally snatches it, like, quickly and into his pocket. Now, would you fuck off and leave us to our drinks?
She winks at him and walks off.
Droplet's beak opens. And you just hear 5 individuals. Nothing else.
The dwarf turns to Droplet and says, "Are you taking the piss?"
Jane kind of turns around as she's walking and just grabs Droplet by the cape and says, "Come on."
And as he's dragged away, Droplet just goes, "You stupid bird."
Oh, I love it. I love it.
It's okay. It's okay, Droplet. You're okay. I'm not letting anybody string you up and cook you. Not that I think that you'd let them yourself, but that one looked a little bit and smelt funky.
I would say Dags, and probably Elliot as well. You would both notice that the barman is now pretty intently keeping looking in your guys' direction. Another individual's walked into the inn. He's dressed in similar garb to the barman. Definitely not dirty as some of the patrons of this particular inn, but he stands at the bar and sort of leans in and has a word to the barkeep, and then stands at the bar and sort of turns, elbow on the bar, and looks in your guys' general direction. Looks again maybe half elven, possibly. Kind of hard to tell. It's quite dim in here. You can't really. He has the finer features. Looks human, but he has that real finer features of an elf as well. So possibly half elven. He's wearing the dark leathers, dark cape, not unlike Dags, but a very specific type of armor and coloration, which Xerxes and Droplet you would definitely know to be Zentarum. And he just watches you guys. They both do. They're sort of focusing on you guys as this all going on. They witness Jane and Droplet dealing with these individuals at the table, and as you head back to the table, you would definitely notice that they're taking notice of you in this particular place.
Sorry, I tuned out a bit there. Seems we've drawn some attention to ourselves. Stay closer, Bert. Droplet. Droplet? I think we should get out of here before we draw any more unwanted attention. If we've got some sort of lead.
I think there's a 2-drink minimum in this place. We need to order another round.
Okay. Whiskey this time?
I don't think they have whiskey.
What do they have that's not looking as grim as that?
It's just the ale.
Oh, God. Okay.
Elliot thinks that Xerxes is full of shit. And he just walks away. He's like, no. I'm not drinking myself to death in this place.
So does Elliot head for the door?
Yeah.
As Elliot stands,
will follow Elliot
and
confirm his name.
Okay, so as Elliot stands and heads towards the door, you would immediately see it, because you've got to walk towards the bar to walk towards the door. You immediately see the barman sort of stiffen up, like he was leaning quite off the bar. He sort of stands upright a bit more, and the individual standing next to him stands more upright as well. As you start to veer towards the door, the half-elven individual takes a step to cut you off at the door.
Can I help you with something, sir?
Yes, you can, in fact. you can go to the bar and buy another drink.
Any particular reason I would do that?
I believe you've had one. Although I didn't see you drinking. Kind of rude and impolite not to observe the rules of the house, wouldn't you say?
Forgetful in my old age. I feel like I've had something to drink, but you know, starts to go if you don't
Well,
stay on it.
of course. I mean, why else would you try and leave before honouring the house rules? It's not like you were doing it on purpose, of course. And he gives you a, he's being polite but passive aggressive as well.
Well, I do actually need to urinate. Is there a toilet in this establishment?
Privy is through the rear of the building, that way.
Amazing.
And he just stands, crosses his arms in front of him, just waiting.
I go to the toilet.
And you,
I hope you put it on the map.
not on this map, but there's definitely a toilet. And as he sort of folds his hands in front of him, you do notice he's armed, definitely armed. He's carrying a long sword on his left hip. He's got a very stylish looking dagger on his right hip. As he brings his arms down, you can see the hilts of them and pommels protruding from just beyond his wrists. But you also notice on the right breast of his armor, you'd know them. You'd know what most you know what weapons are. 3 throwing knives or throwing daggers, sort of in a sheath on the both left and right of his armor. So he's very well armored, very well armed, and very polite as well, in a passive aggressive way. But he doesn't seem like he wasn't about to try and start something. But he was definitely letting you know that maybe Xerxes is right, and there is a 2-drink minimum in this establishment. And probably because the ale is that nasty is why they enforce it. But Elliot leaves through the rear door, and you do go outside. It's a fenced off area, but there are 3 privies, little privy house, three basically porta potties side by side, but little wooden shacks, typical outside privy. The smell is atrocious, but I dare say that they have not redug or they don't sawdust or anything. It's pretty nasty. So with Elliot leaving the establishment, you see Xerxes, you'd know the privy area as well, and you would have all overheard this conversation. It wasn't like it was hushed, and this place isn't big. So the rest of you at the table, Droplet, you said you were following Elliot at that point, so you would have been standing behind him, so you would have been definitely privy to this conversation, more so than anybody else. So what does Droplet do? Does he return to the table?
Droplet
Or does he
stands
say
there
anything?
looking at this violent-looking man. And as his beak drops, he says, I do need to urinate.
Mimicking Elliot.
And just closes his beak and walks off after him.
Very cool. That's well done. So, with Elliot and Droplet relieving themselves, what are the rest of you doing?
I'm looking at Xerxes and Dag's going, so whose round is it? Or do I have to do that again?
I pull out 1 gold and I hand it over and I say, if you wouldn't mind getting another one, I'm trying to keep a low profile in here.
Okay. So, yeah. Look at Dags. You staying there?
Kind of like Dags would obviously realize that he has to drink here, but he's doing everything to be like a messy drunk drinking, like a faux messy drunk.
Okay.
So
So
Jane just looks at you and goes, okay, guess I'm
Roll,
going up there by
roll a
myself.
deception check, Dags, please. Not great. It's not bad. Not great. It's actually not too bad. 14. I would say with that, I mean, you feel confident in your ruse that you're semi-inebriated. The individual, as Elliot and Droplet head out towards the privy, takes a step away from the door and moves back towards the bar and leans over and says something to the barkeep as you reapproach the bar, Jane.
I wander up and I look at the barkeep and I say, is ale all we have here, or do we have other beverages?
What does this look like? Yawning pool? Ale.
Jane looks around and she's like, definitely not. So I'll
Exactly.
have
So
another round for the
ale.
boys, thank you.
And he grabs your mug, turns around, refills them again, sloppily spills them on the floor, bangs them down on the counter. 2 gold.
Gives him the 2 gold. Turns around, far too fast with all these mugs in her hand, falls flat on her face, dropping them everywhere.
Okay. The dock workers at the table sort of look. The dwarf is horrified that you've just spilt perfectly good ale in his eyes. The barkeep and the individual standing there sort of watch as this happens. The individual actually steps forward and, would you like a hand? And puts a hand down to help you up.
And she looks at him and says, oh, thank you, and reaches out to let him help her up.
He pulls you up. And so what's your intent at this point? To go back to the table, or he sort of pulls you up?
Pick up these mugs and turn around and look at the barkeep and put the mugs back on the bar, saying, I guess I have to get another round.
I guess so.
So another round, and apologies for the mess. I'm tripped over my feet.
That's why we have dirt floors, love.
Yeah.
And he
You
refills
would
the
have heard
mugs.
some very unladylike language as she went down as well.
It doesn't faze anyone in this place. So he refills them, puts the mugs on the counter. 2 gold.
Gives him another 2 gold.
Do you have another 2 gold?
Yeah.
And he takes it.
And I pick them up gently and turn around and I look at the chap that helped me up and say, do you mind? Would you give me a hand, please?
He looks at you and so he gives you a slight smile and grabs 2 of the mugs and walks over with you to the table. He places them down on the table and scans the individuals at the table like he's obviously had a good look at you. He looks directly at you, Dags. Xerxes, you would hear them approaching, and as he sort of gets to the table and sidles up beside you, you would realize that obviously who this person is based on what he's wearing. How does Xerxes react to this?
I make a gesture as if I'm about to vomit everywhere, and I immediately pull off my mask and just throw up.
Does anyone is your face averted, or is it?
No, I'm particularly showing, like, as I turn to look up. That's
Okay. Okay. Interesting. I believe you have an ability, which this is interesting. So, as Xerxes sort of turns and removes his mask, Dags and Jane, you see his face for the first time. It's not pretty. Not by a long shot. In fact, I would say it is downright horrific in nature. So, Xerxes, you should be able to click on it, and it should come up in the chat, hopefully. Unless I've made it to target. Here we go. So, just to let you guys know, so as an action, this is part of an action from Xerxes, he removes his mask, and every creature within 60 feet that can see his face must make a DC 13 wisdom save. So make your wisdom save, Dags and Jane. My dude is going to make a public roll as well. D20. He has got a +2 to his save. He's good. So, Dags, I need you to make a wisdom save, dude.
I clicked the thing in chat, but it's saying you must have one or more.
Yeah, that's a targeted one, so just make it from your character sheet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was just so that we could get the description up. And so I could remember the DC.
There we go.
So, as horrific as Xerxes' face is, and as he vomits on the floor, well, probably on the feet of this individual, I'd imagine, because he's pretty close. So, even he sort of takes a step back as you remove your mask. So you probably don't actually vomit on him. It's on the floor as he steps back. The initial shock on his face, and then he sort of relaxes as you get the impression just by looking at his face that he's not as horrified as some might be by what they've seen. Jane, you would be shocked initially as well because you only just hit the DC. So you would definitely be taken back by Xerxes' face. Xerxes, would you like to describe what they see, please?
So when you first see him remove the mask, you see a gap on the side of his mouth that extends halfway up his cheek, exposing teeth and gums all the way around to where his nose is, and back down to the side of his mouth. It kind of gives you the impression of something having been ripped out of his face, which is why he talks funny. It is yellow and pustuled. It was completely disfigured. Not only that, but he is also missing the eye from the left eye, and there's just an empty socket.
So he's pretty hideously disfigured. I would say by this stage, depending on what Elliot, if Elliot was Elliot actually going to urinate, or was he going to try and get away? Was that his intention? Before we come back to this,
his intention was to try and get away. I'd imagine he's also consulting with the man in his head about options until he realizes that he's got company.
Yes, you would get out there, and I mean it is a fenced area. I mean, it's not that it would be hard to climb, but you get out there, you sort of contemplating as you start to maybe concentrate on your companion, you realize that you're not alone, and your short feathered companion is not far behind you.
You needed to relieve yourself too?
He just says his name.
Yeah, it happens to me too at this age. You think you need to go, but like, don't think we're going to get out this way, or even if we do, we're probably not going to be able to come back here. We probably have to go back out there and face whatever horror they serve us next.
And you feel that same pressure on the back of your mind you felt earlier, and all you hear is pussy.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
And you head back inside.
Yeah.
So with
Having
that,
done nothing, Droplet just follows you back inside.
yeah. So as you both enter, you would enter at the point where Xerxes is removing his mask. So again, this place isn't very big. You would be within range. So I need both of you to also make a wisdom save, please, as you would catch the sight of Xerxes' face in the sort of ambient light of this inn. 13. Again, Elliot, you'd be quite shocked at what you see as well, although it doesn't totally affect you. You're not, it would normally cause you to be frightened or intimidated, but you're initially shocked, and then you sort of, you've probably seen some pretty grievous wounds in your time as well, as does Droplet. You're both initially shocked, just meeting the DC. That a sort of initial shock of it's like, whoa, that's fucking disgusting. But then you sort of think, oh, meh, it's not that bad. Like, it's just that initial shock. So you can both react to that in any way you see fit at this point as you re-enter the room.
Well, things have gotten ugly out here. And he'd sort of be reluctant to head back because it would be that shock at first.
Yeah.
And then he realizes that, like,
You'd realize
you'd
realize who it was initially, because I'd say you'd come back and not realize fully who it is, because obviously it's without his mask. Then you'd realize obviously where he's sitting, what he's wearing, and realize that it is is your companion Xerxes. How does Droplet react? I can see your mind ticking over, Leon.
In a voice that's quiet enough that only Elliot would be able to hear, you just hear a little whimpering sound come from Droplet going, "Please don't kill me!" Before he just finds his feet and does his little hoppy skip walk over to the table.
As you rejoin the table, the armored individual takes a step back, and you can see he's more concerned about the vomit than your face, Xerxes, as he looks you directly in the face. Now, this is a man that you recognize. You know this man. It's been a long time. His name escapes you. He's not someone you knew well. He's not someone that you would have considered friend, but it's definitely someone you knew within the Zentarum. And as your eyes meet, you can see his mind ticking over, or your eye, well, his eyes and your eye, so technically 3 eyes meeting. As you meet his gaze, you can see the cogs ticking, like he's trying to place you. Like there's a familiarity to you that he's trying to place, and then you can see he can't quite do it. That sort of passes, like he can't quite place your face, and he sort of leans in close to you, close enough for the rest of those of you at the table to hear. Probably not you, Droplet, or Elliot, as you're sort of walking across the room. I would keep the mask on in future. Wouldn't want to scare small children and ladies. And he sort of shoots a quick glance over at you, Jane, seeing the shock in your face as the mask has come off.
When he says that, I look around the room, just trying to see if I can see any small children.
There's definitely no small children or other women in this place.
And then I reach down, grab the mask, and just pop it back on.
And with that, he sort of stands himself up again, actually turns sideways to walk away and puts his left hand on your left shoulder and just gives it a bit of a tap and walks away. Walks back towards the bar.
Excuse me.
He ignores you.
She wanders after him just quickly. Sorry, so you never told me your name? I just wanted to say thank you.
No, I didn't tell you my name. And you're welcome.
Okay. And she takes that as, okay, he's not going to tell me his name, and walks back to the table.
No problem. And with that, Elliot and Droplet rejoin you at the table.
So, question.
Yes.
With the tap on the shoulder, is it more of like a plop of a hand, or is it like a tink?
Yeah, no, it was a whole hand on the shoulder and just like like a gentle, like it was a friendly sort of tap, like, hey, yeah, put the mask back on kind of deal. Xerxes, I mean, that's what you guys would have seen. That's what it would have seemed to you. Xerxes, you would understand that he's still trying to place you, and he's letting you know that while he may not know you now, it might come to him later. Like he's just letting you know that he's clocked who you might be, or like, you know, he hasn't recognized you. That much is evident, but it's that whole, I'll figure it out eventually.
I'll take whatever drink there is that you've brought back, scull another one, and just sort of...
It's just as nasty as the last one. No need for con saves or anything like that. It's just, it's not going to hurt you guys at all. It's just foul tasting.
I look at Xerxes and say, with that, do you need something to settle your stomach? Because that was all kinds of nasty.
No, I'll be fine. Kind of experienced it before. Starting to get a bit more used to it.
How often does this happen?
Not that often, really. Just any time I've been here.
Oh. And he's saying that the beer's okay. It's not gonna... Okay, sweet. I look at mine and I'm like... and I look around at the barkeep. Is he looking at us?
They're both still watching. They're not watching as intently as they were before, but they are still keeping an eye on you guys.
Would I get away with slowly pouring it on the floor?
No. They're definitely watching.
So she turns around and looks at them, picks up her ale, downs it.
Again, not nice. It is nasty, nasty stuff. There are definitely bits floating in it. You're not going to vomit. I mean, you might vomit. It's up to you, but it's very nasty. Obviously, Jane is definitely not used to drinking ale at the best of times, let alone ale that tastes as bad as this. But it doesn't upset your stomach to that point. It's just a nasty flavor, and it's got bits in it. It's just not nice.
Is this the norm for this area?
Well, the norm for this bar. Oh,
Okay,
sorry, are you in character? Sorry.
Kind of talking to Xerxes, going, is this like the norm for this area?
This is actually better than normal.
I think I'll stick to water in future. If I can get it.
I wouldn't drink the water around here.
In any case, I dare suggest that you finish your drinks, and if we found all we need to here, we should move on. Already made quite the scene.
Yeah. One I won't soon forget.
She raises an eyebrow at Xerxes, thinking, yes, you did. We have, you did. Looking at the vomit on the floor.
Dags would kind of just pipe up and, what are you talking about? This is good stuff. and kind of try to waterfall it into his mouth a little bit, trying to play into it a little bit.
You'd get some in your mouth, some on your face, down your front. I mean, it works, and it's probably nothing that no one's not seen in this place before. I mean, looking at the table across from you, those guys are filthy as they can be, and half of them are missing their mouths as they're drinking anyway. They're getting that drunk.
It's talk like that that makes me not trust you. And he's like, and he pours it all into his mouth because he won't dare get any in his beard. That's just disgraceful. So
Yeah.
he will consume it all in its
And it
crunchy
is
goodness.
nasty. It is, yeah. I mean, Elliot's used to drinking. He's used to drinking some pretty horrible stuff, but this is by far the nastiest ale you've ever drunk. It definitely has bits in it.
Yeah.
And with what Zerx has said before about if you don't drink it, it goes back in the keg, you could quite believe it.
Yep. A drink you consume while it consumes you.
Droplet just looks at Dags and goes, "You missed a spot."
How does Dags react to that?
I think Dags would just kind of be like looking to see if there's any more in the cup, in the tankard, kind of like looks
No.
over at Droplet.
So with that, drinks finished, information gathered. Time to exit, I would assume. You get up from your table, you start to head towards the door. The individual at the bar, again, as you start to move towards the door, stands upright. This time not moving to intercept, but just standing upright. Hands clasped in front of him, one hand sort of semi-resting on the hilt of his longsword. Again, not in an aggressive manner, but just almost precautionary as you slowly pass by and head towards the door. Does anyone say anything on their way out?
As Jane passes him, she pops a quick curtsy, says thank you, and walks.
He raises an eyebrow and sort of almost dismisses it as you pass and watches as the rest of you walk out.
As I'm passing Barkeep, I just sort of, without looking directly at him, I'll just say, "This was your best one yet," and I'll flick him 2 gold.
Okay. He catches the 2 gold, looks over towards you and gives you a half-hearted sort of nod. And the individual, the half-elf gentleman, again, looking at you, trying to catch your eye, whether he does or not, is up to you, but you can see him still trying to place you, like he's still very much intent on placing you in his memory. It's not, still doesn't seem to come to him at this point, but he's definitely trying to place you. It's very evident that that's sort of his mind's ticking over as you sort of walk past. You leave the Skewered Dragon back out into the alley, into the street. This time, depending on which way you want to go, north or south. Because with the information that Jane has given you, the warehouse, I believe, is to the south. We're almost finished, Crit, but good to see you, buddy.
If we have fully left the bar,
Yes.
Droplet will reiterate to the team.
Candle Lane.
I think it's south. I'm going to double check my sources, but I'm pretty sure it could be north. I forget. Oh, it is north, sorry. I was wrong. It's up here.
I think we should go to Candle Lane. Good idea, Droplet.
Probably a good idea. I think the sun is waxing in the sky.
Is it a better part of the city than this?
So.
Okay.
We've got candles. So maybe smell a little bit more fragrant, perhaps.
So as you, as Droplet walks Candle Lane, in what voice was that? Was it in what the dwarf? It was in the dwarven voice. 'Cause I think it was the dwarf that said it.
Right, the dwarven voice. Yeah.
So in a dwarven drawl, almost drunken dwarven drawl, you get Candle Lane. Droplet, you know where Candle Lane is, as does Xerxes. Probably not so much. Actually, no, you would. Sorry, you would know Candle Lane. You'd also know the symbol that you're looking for, as it is a Zentarum symbol, which was the dragon, the snake, symbol of the black winged snake, is what you've been told to look for. So you would know that symbol very well. So you start heading north. You leave Phillip Lane. You walk. I'd say Droplet would take you via Zastro Street, which is directly north. You head left out of the alley, then you turn northward on Zastro Street, and you start making your way, heading up towards Troll Crook Alley, and then veering off to the right. Again, this whole area is built up. 2- and 3-story buildings. This street is a little wider than where you just were, so the light does come through from the day and hits the street. Eventually you make a left turn into another narrow sort of set of street which is called Street of Curtains. Then turn right onto another narrow alley. Again, these buildings, 3- and 4-story buildings here, so close knit that the light barely cuts through into the street. You've got shafts of light coming down through the awnings and through the building tops, making it quite eerie looking. The dust sort of coming down, like you got those light shafts, you got the dust floating through it. So it's kind of interesting. You have bright light going into dim light, so your eyes have to adjust multiple times walking through this alley. Eventually, you do find the building you are looking for. Sort of several street lamps in this area, which would normally probably even be lit during the day because it is quite dim in some areas here, have been smashed. So the only light that pierces through is literally those light shafts that come down from the buildings above. You then spy the symbol on one of the doors on a large sort of warehouse style building. It's quite faint, it's old, it's been there for quite some time. Xerxes, you'd be probably the first to spot it, as you know exactly what you're looking for. You know it well. It's something that you would be keeping an eye out for in past days. So you know that you've found the place you're looking for easily. You basically now standing in front of large double gates, small courtyard. The double gates are slightly open, so you're able to move in. What you see in front of you once you move into this courtyard is a big set of double warehouse doors. Looks like sliding doors, where carts and things would probably go in and drop goods off maybe. And to your left, or to the north, looking from where you guys are standing in this courtyard, will be a single door, which may be an office or just another person access into the building itself. But you have found your destination, which well, you think you found your destination at the very least. It definitely fits the description that you were given.
I just take a minute just to wipe my face off a bit cleaner, get rid of the ale stain that I had on my mouth, and whatever chunks I'd left behind. Cleaning myself up a little bit before heading towards the entrance.
No worries. So, which door are you going to head for? The man-sized door or the big double doors?
Would I...
They're both closed, just for reference.
Would I have any knowledge of what each door is used for?
Like I said, the big doors, literally, they look like storeroom doors. They're big sliding doors, so you'd assume with the size of them would be where cargo would be dropped off and loaded out and taken out. This courtyard, you can see the tracks from carts and horses and stuff like that, so you would definitely notice that sort of stuff.
I'll just head to the main single door.
Okay. So as you approach the door, I will get all of you to make the last roll of the evening a perception roll for me, please. Got a 10 from Dags, 10 from Xerxes, 15 from Elliot, and an 11 from Jane. Why are you rolling twice, Jane? You double clicked.
Yeah,
We'll take your first roll.
Thanks.
Yes, it's Friday here, just. So with that roll, as you approach the door, all of you sort of stop for a second and realize it's really quiet. If this is a warehouse, it's daytime. Surely there'd be someone here working. Things just seem oddly quiet, almost deathly quiet. And that's where we'll talk tonight's session, guys, and pause our story there, and we'll pick it up in 2 weeks' time back here on the channel, and we will investigate the warehouse of with the Zentarum faction symbol on the doors. Well done, team. We'll just do what we're going to do before we finish up. I know Nutty's probably tired as hell, but she doesn't have work tomorrow, so we can keep her up just a little bit longer. Not until tomorrow afternoon. Jeez, we can keep you up just a little while longer. We're going to go around and get everyone to reintroduce themselves and just let people know who you play, just as a thing with new people coming to the chat. So we'll start with you, Mr. Grim. We'll just go around that way.
My name is Grim Realities, and I play Elliot Duskborn, a warlock tiefling.
Yes, Elliot. Elliot is an interesting character, to say the least. Nutty, would you reintroduce yourself and your character, please?
My name is Nutty Tart, and I play Jane Smith, a human druid.
Neon.
Hey everyone, I'm Neon Reptile. I play Droplet, the katana-wielding Kenku monk, who is probably a little bit autistic and does things his own way.
Definitely. Styx.
Hello, I'm Six. I'm playing Xerxes Devrain, the heavily disfigured half-drow paladin.
And finally, Dill.
I'm Dill Cripple, and I'm playing Dags, a wood half-elf rogue.
Cool. And of course, my name's Evldoa. I'm your GM, and this has been session 2 of our Waterdeep-Dragon Heist campaign. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, players, for your awesome RP. A great session. I loved it. It was brilliant. Thank you so much, viewers, for coming hanging out with us tonight. Spending your time here in little old Evldoa's channel. Good to see you all in. Same with you lurkers. I see all you lurkers in there as well. Thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate it. Just a few quick mentions. Natural 20s with 5 gifted subs. We had PC Comp Geek with a whole bunch of biddies and a follow. We had Grim with a gifted sub. What else do we had here? We had Shadow with a gifted sub as well. Sticks with a gifted sub. And we had Grim with a P sub. Can't forget that. And yes, you guys are right. You guys are awesome. We've had another hype train tonight. I think we're super close to our new sub goal for the month, which is awesome. All that money goes right back into the stream as always. It makes us helps us able to sort out and pay for programs like Foundry Virtual Tabletop, which we use, which we are using in the background as when we do get into a battle, if and when. You guys will see that when we go over to this scene over here. You will see that we are using Foundry Virtual Tabletop. So we will be using that at some stage. Great virtual tabletop, I love it. And I'm happy to help anyone who is getting into it that is not entirely sure how it works. I do run a lot of mods and I've been using it for quite some time, and I'm more than happy to help people out. We also make maps here over on Evil's channel, Mondays, map making Mondays. We do digital maps for Foundry, which is a lot of fun. Yes, I have seen the new Dungeon Alchemist. It does look impressive. There's a lot of them out there. There's some really cool map makers available, Just Ice, and I use Dungeon Draft specifically myself. Failing that, I'm not sure what I'm doing tomorrow. I might do a bonus stream tomorrow night because Nutty's at work and I'll be home by myself because kids away on holiday. So I will maybe look at a bonus stream tomorrow night. We might do some PUBG maybe, or some Rainbow Six. We'll see. If anyone's around, wants to come hang out and play some games, come and see me tomorrow night, perhaps. Sunday, I'm not doing anything on Sunday at this stage, but map making Monday, Sons of the Forest Tuesday, Pew Pew Wednesday, PUBG Customs next week, Pew Pew Thursday, Rainbow Six Customs. It'll be a lot of fun. But anywho, we're going to raid someone. Who should we raid? Has anyone got someone on their list that they would like us to raid? Otherwise, I will choose someone myself from my list of people.
Friendly's playing.
Friendly
D&D.
here. We haven't raided them for a while, have we?
Yeah, he's only got 2 in his stream.
So, yeah, no worries, Natural 20s. So I said I'm more than happy to help people out with Foundry and stuff like that. Actually, JJ's on. I'm gonna raid JJ.
JJ?
I didn't realize JJ was streaming. He's doing some music stuff, so we're gonna go harass JJ.
Oh, I didn't realise he was still on Twitch.
Yeah. I think he made a transition over to YouTube for a bit, and I think he's decided to come back to Twitch.
Oh,
so I'm gonna go raid JJ because JJ's a good friend. It's not a D&D channel, guys, but JJ's an awesome dude. He does wrestling EFED stuff. He's into his music. He's just a really nice guy. Make sure if you're not following, please do. I will be over there with you very shortly, but make sure you check out Mr. JJB. JJ Aussie Punk used to be JJ Beats. But we're going to set up the raid. We're going to go raid Mr. JJ. Happy to see you in Just as well, and Natural 20s. All you guys are awesome. Good to see you here. We'll hopefully see you again. Like I said, 2 weeks' time we'll be doing session 3. We play bi-weekly. So come back. Keep an eye on the Discord. Keep an eye on the Twitter. Keep it on the YouTube because this session will be on YouTube by the end of the week. Or in before mid next week, sorry. So probably Monday, Tuesday, I'll have it up on YouTube. If not tomorrow, if I'm not too busy doing other things. But we will see you next time. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I appreciate it. And we'll see you later.